And pressure is increasing on Iran as the world's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, prepares to publish a new and potentially highly critical report on Tehran's nuclear program. There's been widespread speculation that it will highlight Tehran's covert weaponization efforts. Not uncoincidentally, the Israeli press has this week been awash with reports that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Ehud Barak are persuaded that an Israeli strike on Iran is necessary and soon. Adding to the tension, Israel conducted a major ballistic missile test last Wednesday. Iran, of course, insists its nuclear program is entirely peaceful and has warned all nations against, quote, colliding with Iran. So, is all of this the sound of sabers being rattled or the prelude to military intervention with potentially grave global consequences? With me in the GMT studio is Israel's Defense Minister, Ehud Barak. Mr. Barak, welcome to GMT. Is it indeed the case that you are now persuaded that Iran's nuclear program has reached a critical juncture and that Israel will have to respond with military action?
Listening to your opening remarks, it came to my mind that if the Israeli press would follow BBC and see all these kind of economic crises, the looming large, probably they will draw their attention to something more immediate.
The fact is the Israeli press for days has been reporting that you and your Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu, have been pushing inside cabinet and pushing the military establishment to draw up a plan for very rapid military intervention in Iran.
I propose that we'll wait and see the IAEA report. I believe that if they will be daring enough to tell what they know bluntly enough about the military and nuclear intentions of Iran, many in the world will realize that, as we are saying for a long time, Iran is a major challenge for any conceivable world order, and it's making its best determined to deceit and defy the whole world and reach nuclear military capability.
Yeah, that's
that's
a message you've been delivering for some time, but the tone of recent statements from the Prime Minister, things that have been written up in the Israeli press and taken very seriously by the Israeli public, suggest that something has changed. Now, one of your former political colleagues, Benjamin Ben Eliezer, he says he fears you are now considering what he calls a rash attack.
Yeah, you know, I cannot kind of discuss or debate the freedom of press in Israel. They are allowed, as the case is here,
Mr. Ben Eliezer isn't the press. He's a very well-informed politician.
Yeah, to write and to quote whatever they want. Our position did not change and is not going to change, I'm afraid. We think that Iran should be prevented from turning nuclear. I think that that's the basic position of leaders all around the world, including here in Washington, in other European capitals. I think that many actions should be taken in order to do it, and that no option should be removed from the table. That's our position for a long time, and I don't think that there is anything extremely immediate or urgent about it beyond what I've said.
Nothing extremely urgent about it. And yet, you know, you have said, and Mr. Netanyahu has said, that what you see from Iran and the information you have about developments there means that if the international community doesn't act soon, there will be a real and present danger to Israel's existence. Surely that's urgent.
No, it's very clear from what they are doing, that they are trying deliberately to reach certain kind of immunity zone by reaching a high level of redundancy and low level of vulnerability for their program. They are spreading it over many sites, many places, some of them deep into sites of hills, in order to make it protected.
Right, and in principle, leaving aside the timing, do you believe that a military strike on Iran could significantly derail their nuclear program?
I think that any conceivable approach to delay them makes sense and should be considered. And I don't think that more than this should or could be discussed in an open manner between us.
Of course, to get the sort of punitive sanctions you want from the United Nations requires Israel to have friends, frankly, at the very top table of nations. At the moment, you don't have many friends, do you? And you talked about a diplomatic tsunami that would face Israel this year. The tsunami has taken effect, and Israel is more isolated than it's ever been before. Would you agree?
I hope we are not that isolated as some people believe, but it's clear to me that we have to take action proactively in order to avoid even to, first of all, to follow the recommendations of the quartet and to enter very sincerely into negotiations with the Palestinians about two states for two peoples,
well,
no
you just sat in a cabinet meeting which approved 2,000 new housing units on occupied land. How can that be paving the way for serious negotiations with the Palestinians?
I don't think that that's the real issue. We approved 2,000 units within our capital city, like London in your case, in Jewish neighborhoods in our capital city. It's a city of 750,000, so from time to time you have to build.
As you know, it's regarded internationally as occupied land. The Palestinians insist that until there is a freeze on settlements, there can be no return to the negotiating table. You say there has to be a return, so why do you keep signing off on settlements?
I think that that's exactly the kind of preconditions that the world should not accept from the Palestinians. I strongly recommend to whoever is interested in a breakthrough in the negotiation to focus on bringing both sides into a room to negotiate. I can tell you, I was a Prime Minister of Israel some 10 years ago. We were building in 4 times the pace of construction right now. Followed me, Olmert was a Prime Minister who built probably twice the pace of present construction. We didn't have this issue. Reason is that we had an active negotiation with the Palestinians happening. Now, for some reasons, the Palestinians feel the zeitgeist is going with them, that they feel the tailwind from many countries in the world, so they try to unilaterally move it to General Assembly rather than to the negotiating table.
The winds are blowing against Israel in the international community. So I come back to another measure you've just taken. You've just announced that you're going to stop the taxation funds going to the Palestinian Authority. Again, if you are serious about wanting negotiations with the Palestinians, with Mahmoud Abbas and his team, why are you cutting off their financial supply, which means they can't even pay their own security forces?
I hope that this issue will be solved. I cannot tell you whether it will be solved.
Do you think it's the wrong thing that your Prime Minister Netanyahu has ordered?
I don't. You know, they're running a government in Israel, probably even in London, but clearly in Israel, is extremely subtle and delicate issue.
I'm asking you a simple question. Do you think Netanyahu's got this one wrong?
No, I don't. I don't give kind of grades or kind of a rating to an acting prime minister in Israel. It's about the future. I believe that a way could and probably will be found once the other obstacles are removed to resume the flow of funds into the Palestinian Authority. I believe that we have interest in pushing the bottom-up effort of Prime Minister Fayyad and Abu Mazen.
Well, you keep saying that. You want to promote them. But let's face it, if they don't have the money to pay their own police, how is that in Israel's interest? If the Palestinian Authority, in essence, collapses, how is that in Israel's interest?
To the best of my judgment, it's not in our interest that they will collapse, but you might find many in the Israeli public, including the government in the parliament, who believe that it's good for whatever reasons. I think that it's bad for Israel, it's bad for the Palestinians.
It could happen, couldn't it?
Yeah, hypothetically it could happen. I hope it won't happen. And there are many ups and downs on the road to peace. I believe that the issue of funds for the security forces of Abu Mazen and Fayyad will be solved.
Before we finish, Mr. Barak, I must turn your mind to the Arab Spring. We've reported today on new violence in Syria. All around Israel there is instability and uncertainty. Again, I come back to this point about diplomatic isolation. Isn't it time for Israel to reach out to the Palestinians and to the world rather than hunker down in isolation?
It's an explicit objective of our government to resume negotiation based on no precondition and two states for two peoples. I believe that we can come with ideas about security, about borders, about refugees, even about Jerusalem and end of conflict, and to move there. If there is no way to reach an agreement, we should reassess. But clearly the events of the Arab Spring should leave us to accelerate efforts, not just with the Palestinians, also with the Egyptians, with the Turks, with anyone else around us, to reduce tensions and to increase cooperation.
Mr. Barak, we have to end there. Thank you very much for joining us on GMT. And that is indeed all we have time for on this edition. Thank you very much for watching.